With the power of the elements coursing through their veins, Aurion and the Ancestral Wolves believed they were invincible. But as the night whispers of an approaching darkness, a new challenge rises from the shadows, threatening to shatter the fragile balance they've fought so hard to protect. In a world where ancient prophecies stir and unseen enemies lurk, the true test of their power begins. Brace yourself, for the gathering storm is about to break. The forest was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that made even the bravest creatures wary. A heavy fog clung to the ground, swirling around the ancient oaks like ghostly tendrils. The ritual had ended, but its effects lingered in the air, a tangible energy that pulsed with the rhythm of the earth itself. The Ancestral Wolves had awakened a power they barely understood, and with it came a sense of unease that gnawed at the edges of their consciousness. Aurion prowled the perimeter of the sacred grove, his silver fur gleaming under the pale light of the moon. His senses were heightened, every sound and movement amplified by the power he now wielded. But it wasn't just the forest that he was listening to. It was something deeper, something darker. A presence that had not been there before. He paused at the edge of a clearing, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows. His instincts screamed that something was wrong, but there was nothing. No scent, no sound, just an oppressive stillness. He growled softly, a low rumble that echoed through the trees.
Aurion, you sense it too, don't you?
Aurion nodded, not taking his eyes off the darkness. Something has changed, Terra. The ritual has awakened more than just our power. There's a disturbance in the balance, something unnatural. Terra's deep green eyes darkened.
Do you think it's the darkness from the prophecy? Could it be coming sooner than we anticipated?
I don't know, but we can't afford to be complacent. We need to be prepared for anything. As the night wore on, the Ancestral Wolves gathered once more, this time around a roaring fire at the heart of their territory. The flames cast flickering shadows on their faces, highlighting the tension in their eyes. Each wolf was a master of their element, yet there was an unspoken fear among them, fear of the unknown.
I've scouted the skies. There's nothing out there, but the winds are restless. They whisper of danger, but I can't pinpoint where it's coming from.
We're wasting time. If there's a threat, let it come. I'll turn it to ash before it can lay a paw on our land.
We cannot rush into battle without understanding our enemy, Ignis. Fire may burn bright, but it can also be extinguished.
Ignis growled, but he knew Lyra was right. He sat back, the flames reflecting in his eyes as he waited for Aurion to speak. Aurion stepped forward, his presence commanding immediate attention. We've all felt it, the shift in the balance. The ritual has made us stronger, but it has also drawn attention to us. There's something out there, watching, waiting. We must be vigilant. The wolves nodded, but before anyone could respond, a sharp howl pierced the night, echoing from the forest's edge. It was a call they didn't recognize, one that didn't belong to any of the Ancestral Wolves. Aurion's eyes narrowed. Stay here, I'll investigate. But before he could move, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall, imposing, with fur as dark as the void and eyes that glowed with an unnatural light. The figure stepped into the light of the fire, revealing a wolf unlike any they had seen before. His presence was overwhelming, radiating power and a cold, calculating intelligence. The Ancestral Wolves tensed, ready to strike if necessary, but Aurion held up a paw, signaling them to wait. "Who are you?" The dark wolf smiled, a chilling expression that did little to ease the anxiety of the pack.
I am Noctis, a traveler from a distant land. I've come to offer you a warning.
Aurion's eyes narrowed. A warning from whom? Noctis's smile widened.
From forces you cannot yet comprehend. Your ritual has awakened powers that should have remained dormant. You have drawn the attention of beings far older and far more dangerous than you can imagine. I am here to tell you. Turn back now while you still can.
Ignis leapt to his feet, flames crackling along his fur.
Is that a threat?
Noctis met his gaze without flinching.
It's a promise. The storm that is coming will not be stopped by mere fire or wind. You are playing with forces beyond your control.
Aurion stepped forward, his eyes locked on Noctis. If there is a storm coming, we will face it. The Ancestral Wolves do not fear the unknown. We were born of the elements, and we will defend our world with everything we have. Noctis studied Aurion for a long moment before nodding slowly.
Very well, but know this. The darkness is not what you think it is. It is older than the earth itself, and it is coming for you. When it does, you will need more than elemental power to survive.
The following days were filled with tension and preparation. Aurion led the pack in training, pushing them to harness their elemental powers to new heights. They honed their abilities, their bond growing stronger with each passing day, but the sense of unease only deepened.
Terror felt it first, a tremor in the earth, subtle at first but growing stronger with each passing hour. The ground seemed to pulse with a life of its own, as if something was stirring deep beneath the surface.
Something's coming. The earth is warning us, but I can't tell what it is.
Aurion nodded, his expression grim.
We need to be ready for anything. The storm that Noctis spoke of, it's already begun.
As if in response to his words, the sky darkened, clouds swirling in a chaotic dance above the forest. The wind picked up, howling through the trees, and the temperature dropped, a chill seeping into the bones of every living creature.
Lyra, standing by a river that flowed through their territory, felt the water grow colder, more turbulent. The current, usually calm and steady, began to thrash and churn as if in fear.
Zephyr, soaring high above, watched as the clouds twisted and turned, forming shapes that seemed almost alive. The wind was no longer her ally. It was wild, unpredictable, and dangerous.
Ignis, his flames burning hotter than ever, found that the fire he commanded was harder to control, as if it had a mind of its own, resisting his will.
Aurion stood at the heart of the storm, feeling the power of the elements around him. The ritual had given them strength, but it had also unleashed something far more powerful, something they were not prepared for. That night, as the storm raged on, Aurion found himself unable to sleep. He stood on a cliff overlooking the forest, the wind tugging at his fur, the storm echoing the turmoil in his mind. He was joined by Lyra, her presence soothing despite the chaos around them.
You're worried?
Aurion sighed, his gaze fixed on the horizon.
This storm, it's more than just weather. It feels alive, as if it has a purpose. I've never felt anything like it before.
Lyra nodded, her blue eyes reflecting the turmoil in the water below.
We're being tested, Aurion. The elements are challenging us, forcing us to prove ourselves. But what if this is just the beginning? What if the real threat is still out there, waiting?
Aurion didn't respond immediately. He knew she was right, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The storm was a distraction, a test of their strength, but what if it was also a warning? As they stood there in silence, a sudden flash of light caught Aurion's attention.
Do you see that?
Aurion nodded.
Stay here, I'll investigate.
He moved quickly, his body a blur as he raced through the forest, the storm raging around him. As he drew closer to the source of the light, he felt the ground tremble beneath his paws, the air growing colder with each step. When he finally reached the clearing, he stopped in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. In the center of the clearing stood a massive stone pillar, ancient and covered in strange symbols that glowed with an eerie light. Around it, the ground was scorched as if by some powerful force, and at the base of the pillar, a dark shape moved, shifting and writhing like a shadow come to life. Aurion felt a chill run down his spine as he realized what he was looking at. It was the darkness Noctis had warned them about, an ancient malevolent force that had been awakened by their ritual, and it was coming for them. Aurion knew he had to act fast. He howled, a call that echoed through the storm, summoning the Ancestral Wolves to his side. They arrived quickly, their eyes widening as they saw the pillar and the darkness that surrounded it.
What is that?
Aurion shook his head.
I don't know, but it's powerful. We need to destroy it before it can grow any stronger.
The wolves moved as one, their elemental powers combining in a display of strength that shook the earth. Fire, water, wind, and earth surged toward the pillar, but as the elements collided with it, something unexpected happened. The darkness absorbed the energy, growing larger and more powerful with each attack. The wolves recoiled, their eyes wide with shock as they realized that they were only making it stronger. Aurion growled, his mind racing as he tried to think of a solution. But before he could act, the darkness surged forward, lashing out with tendrils of shadow that wrapped around him, pulling him toward the pillar.
Aurion!
But it was too late. The darkness engulfed him, pulling him into the void as the storm reached its peak. The last thing he heard before everything went black was the howls of his pack, their cries of despair echoing through the night. End of Chapter 2. The storm has only just begun. Will Aurion and the Ancestral Wolves find a way to overcome this ancient darkness? Or will they fall to the very powers they've awakened? Don't miss the next chapter. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay tuned for the epic continuation of this saga.